great day, attractive thinker and visual encouragers from around the world. We are excited to be back with you for another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance. Dr. Toni Hatton here, your identity coach and get to the root specialist at the Attractive Thinker Guru. As you always hear me say, I trust that you have your Attractive Thinker notebook handy to capture these gems that we'll be dropping today. And I also encourage you, if you have not done so already, to get your copy of the Attractive Thinker Experience on Amazon today. This 726-page transformational experience is in full color and it's a hardcover book because I wanted you to have something that would last. I wanted you to have something that you could use as a reference, as a guide, as a tool whenever you feel stuck or whenever you feel like you need clarity or you're going through something in your life and you need support and you need to know what your next move is and you're not sure what's going, because a lot of times as an entrepreneur we go through things that don't have anything to do with a website or a business card or the next action step. A lot of the work that we do as entrepreneurs is internal so that we can continue to create externally and manifest our greatness in the earth. Welcome my co-host Tichet Bradshaw to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance.
Happy Mindset Monday, everybody. You know it. We made it and we'll make it again and again. We get to do what we've never did, go where we've never gone, and have all that we deserve to have in this lifetime. This is a great day to be alive.
It is a fantastic and amazing day to be alive. I want you to write that down in your Attractive Thinker notebook. I know you've written it down before, but this time it's going to hit differently. It is a great day to be alive. It's a great day for you to be alive, attractive thinker. I want you to think about something. You know, when we talk about loving ourselves and putting ourselves first and honoring ourselves and respecting ourselves. See, we did a whole nother episode on I believe in that particular episode, I can't remember the title to share, but you gave me a scenario, you created a scenario for me of a person who was looking for love outside of themselves. And we addressed that and we were talking about the best, the greatest love, the first search for love is loving yourself. It's self-love. It's a form of self-love. And I want you to understand something. When you hear that word self-love, you hear a lot of different responses. And everybody's perception of that is different. But I want you to understand something. Self-love is the greatest love because out of you comes everything else. Everything that you're going to create is going to come from you. Everything that you're going to experience is going to come from inside of you. Everything starts from the inside out. And if loving me is wrong, then guess what? I don't want to be right. I want you to think about that for a minute because as soon as you begin to love yourself, it's going to affect your circle. It's going to affect people's perception of you. You're going to get responses like, oh, she thinks she's that, or she thinks she's better than us, or who does he think he is? Or, oh, here's a big one. Oh, now they're acting funny. Oh, so you're going to act funny now? Oh, now you're acting strange and weird. You're going to get all kinds of responses. When you begin to love yourself, you know why? And this just came to me while I was talking. You know why you're going to get so many different responses? Because loving yourself is not common. Loving you is not common. How many encounters do you have throughout the day of people who really love themselves, who really put themselves first, who really honor what they say, who really give themselves the best, who really don't tolerate or settle for less than what they deserve? So it's difficult sometimes to begin to love yourself because it changes everything around you. Now everything's responding to you differently. And here's a big one to share. When you begin to love yourself, now you have to make changes. You have to change what's going on in your relationships. You have to change what's going on in your finances. You have to change what's going on in your physical health. When you begin to love yourself, You got to change some things. You have to shift some things because now you're taking yourself from the back burner and putting yourself in the driver's seat in your life. Tisha, talk to us today because if loving me is wrong, I honestly don't want to be right.
Me neither. Me neither. Because loving ourselves is one of the paths to freedom.
Yeah.
It Here's the thing. You said loving yourself is not common, right? Loving yourself is also not convenient for other
Mm.
people. Why? Because now you're not at people's beck and calls, right? You're filtering their requests,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when you are loving yourself, you're not just taking everything thrown at you, right? You're considering whether or not this is good, this is right, or if I should do this now, if I should do this later, or if I should not do it at all. You're now considering and weighing your actions on every request instead of just taking them, just for the sake of doing something. When
Mm-hmm.
you are loving yourself, there's so many things that we have to take into consideration. And one of the things we have to take into consideration is how life will change once we love ourselves, right? We always talk about this. Life is going to change when we love ourselves and stuff like that. We always talk about that because this is real and true. And this is
Mm-hmm.
stuff we have tested, we have seen. This is stuff that we know to be hardcore truth,
Mm-hmm.
right? Once you learn to love yourself, there's a shift that goes into your energy. There's a shift in your mindset. There's also a shift in your physical life, right? Because it all starts to mirror the love you have for yourself. When you love yourself, there are certain people you're not going to keep interacting with, right? This is why I say don't confuse history with connection last week, because we'll say, oh, because we have 20 years behind us, or 15-year friendship, or 12 years of being together, or we've been dating for 5 years. You say all of that as if it's an excuse to deal with toxicity.
Mm.
Yeah, history is not an excuse to deal with toxicity, right? You got to get to a point where you love yourself like you love your favorite china in the house, right? And I said china, I know old school, we used to have china, you have them china plates nobody ever eat on until Thanksgiving. And then when the guests come, you bring out the good china. And so they sat in the china closet, kind of collecting dust. And every now and again, you go in and dust them off. We're not doing that anymore. We're bringing out the good china for us. We're eating off the good china, right? And the reason why we're eating off the good china, because I'm worthy to have my life presented to me in a way that is pleasing. I want to eat off the good plate because why am I not worthy of being fed on a good plate just on a normal day? Why do we have to wait for a holiday in order to
Mm.
treat ourselves to stuff? Why does it have to be a specific federal holiday, a reserve day for us to treat ourselves? Why can't that become part of our daily routine? Why can't loving ourselves be a daily routine and not just a reserve for a month or a day or a week? Why can't that be a part of our daily routine? So when you're loving yourself and you start shifting and changing some things, everybody around you is not going to be happy for you.
Mm.
And that's one of the most heartbreaking things you could feel, because you think everybody is happy, would be happy for you because you're happy for everybody else, but everybody is not the same as you. You
Mm.
can't expect you from everybody else, right? You have to, when people tell you who they are, you have to believe them, and you have to consider that that's actually who they are,
Mm.
right? And not say, oh, but if I am this good person, they'll change, right? You can't change a person. That
Mm.
person has to change. That person has to have the desire to change in order to change. There's nothing that you can do for a person to change. Now they can pretend for a while, but it's I used to always say you can't keep up a facade but for so long. After a while, the original person, the person they really are, is still gonna come to the surface.
Mm-hmm.
I tell my daughter, Dr. Toni, when you're dating somebody, you have to consider everybody is at their best behavior for at least the first year. So you're going to encounter people being chivalrous, and they are gonna act like they are into what you're into and listen to what you're listening to and eat what you eat. But after a while, the real person is gonna come to the surface. You
Mm.
know, and so when the real person comes to the surface, we're so shocked, and then we make excuses. Oh, they had a bad day, or so and so did something to them, so that's why they must feel this way. No, that is really what they're showing you is really who they are, right? And so you have to take that person by you look at their actions. Their actions will tell you everything before they open their mouth, right? And so this is why we got to pay attention. When you are loving yourself, you don't let everybody come in your house and go in your purse. You don't let everybody come in your house and go into your keepsake, right? Back in the day, we didn't let everybody come in and just touch our china, our glasses and um, our champagne glasses and the dishes and stuff like that. We didn't let people who were immature come in and just handle whatever they had in their life. And so we have to do the same thing with our heart, with our spirit, and with our energy. We have to make sure we don't give it over to immature people who can mishandle it and break something precious, right? And so when we give ourselves over, when we don't understand the love that we're supposed to have to ourselves, we make ourselves available for anything, right? And when you start loving yourself, you know that you are not created for anything and everything. You know that everything is not for you. Everybody is not for you. I say to myself, I am not for everybody. So when people are not interested or don't like something I'm doing or saying, I'm not so caught up in it because number one, they didn't make me so they can't break me. But number two, I'm not for everybody. And having that realization can get you out of people pleasing. And when you stop being a people pleaser, that becomes inconvenient to the people who are used to you people pleasing. You find out who is really for you when you start becoming for you and you see who stand by your side.
Mm-hmm.
When you stand by your side and you make the decision, I'm not going to treat myself any old kind of way, you set the standard. You then begin to see who loves you by their actions and their willingness to be okay with you setting healthy boundaries and living by the standard. You say, I'm not going to be mistreated. I'm not going to let anybody talk to me any old kind of way. I'm not going to eat something that's going to cause me to um, go back on my desire to be healthy. I'm not going to eat anything that's going to depreciate my value. I'm not going to do anything that's going to depreciate my value. I'm not going to have meaningless conversations. I'm not going to sit there and listen to people whine about something they're going to continue to do anyway. I'm not going to, there's some things I'm just not going to do. And when you start loving yourself, that strength, there's a strength that comes with it. There's a peace that comes with it, Dr. Toni. There's a joy that comes with it because you become okay with you. And so you're not looking outside of you. You're not looking at anybody else or anything else for satisfaction. You're not looking for anything or anybody else for fulfillment because it comes out of you. Fulfillment comes out of you. And so this has to be a great thing. So to me, if I'm loving myself, and I'm discovering new gifts, new talents, new joys, and I'm building my life based off of loving myself, then who can be mad at that? Right? And so for me, I'm just like, it's detrimental to your health to not know who you are, first and foremost. So, loving yourself is knowing who you are, knowing what you are not, knowing who you are for, knowing who you are, who you're not for, right? And so, you have to consider your entire life when it comes time to love yourself. And it takes some boldness to be able to come and say, no, I'm not going to participate in that type of energy anymore because that type of energy depletes me. And then I can't get up and do what I need to do for myself. When you start loving yourself, you stop giving away your time to everything. And you start giving a little bit more time for yourself. We all have 24 hours. Within those 24 hours, your will gets done. So we have to be willing to allow ourselves time for ourselves to build ourselves so that when we do go out there in the world, we're out there at our strongest and giving our best. Back to you, Dr. Toni.
Wow, Tichet, so much is coming to me when listening to your take on if loving me is wrong, I don't want to be right, because I'm thinking to myself, what are attractive thinkers and visual encouragers thinking about this particular message? Like, why is it titled this way? Why is self love an issue? Why do we have to bring that to the forefront? Because when we enter into self love, we make the decision that we're going to put ourselves first, or I'm going to start loving me, or I'm going to start giving back to me what I've been giving to others. We have to know what's going to happen when we begin to do that and what to actually expect, because if we don't know what's going to happen, when things begin to happen or shift as a result of the changes we're making within ourselves, it's very easy to, number one, for people to make you feel like you're doing something wrong. And for number two, for you to believe that you're doing something wrong based on what's happening as a result of these changes that you're making in your life. And we want to clarify that because we don't want you to begin to make these changes and step into self love and then retreat and let it go and settle and give yourself away again, give your power away again, or put you back on the back burner again because you can't handle the consequences of this change. You can't handle the results of this change. You can't handle what's coming at you because you decided to put you first. A lot of people don't know what actually happens. They think it's, you just enter into a bed of roses, or things are just going to be lovely, or yes, I've decided to love myself and put myself first, and everything is going to be great going forward because it's the right thing to do. Of course I should love myself and put myself first, but opposition is present when you decide to make any type of change in your life. There is resistance. And that resistance, if you're not aware of it, nobody told you that you were going to encounter resistance even in doing the right thing. If nobody told you that, then you could think the resistance could make you think that you're doing the wrong thing. You could be doing the right thing and feeling like it's wrong. And if you feel that way over time and you're not surrounded by people that support this type of change in your life, it's going to be easy to fall back into who you used to be and give up the idea of being anything better, being anyone better than who you used to be, because who you used to be, it fits. You've been wearing it for a while. It fits like a well-worn shoe or well-worn glove. Who you used to be doesn't make waves in your relationships. Who you used to be doesn't make waves in your money or in your business or in your health, even if you don't have great health. Sometimes, to Shep, because who you used to be is so comfortable, sometimes people will settle for having poor health than making the change to have good health because of the consequences of that change, because of what has to change in order to embrace that change. Your relationships are going to change, your money is going to change, your business is going to change, your health is going to change, your spirit, your mentality, your beliefs, your thought patterns are going to change with any type of change that you bring into your life. And if you're not fortified, again, with the attractive thinker experience on Amazon, because we have the tools here to help you maneuver these types of changes and keep you mentally strong in the midst of change so that you get what you deserve out of this life. You have to be supported. If you don't have these supports, it's going to be easy to say, you know what, this is too hard, I'm tired. All of a sudden, like you said, to Shed, people I've been in a relationship with for 20 years, all of a sudden we're indifferent with each other, or they don't understand me and I don't understand them. I want it the way it used to be. We used to get along, we used to go out with each other and we used to have fun. We used to be able to call each other. Now I haven't heard from them in a while, all because I decided to change, or I decided to set boundaries, or I decided to love myself. So while you were talking, to Shed, I'm writing down some things that I'm thinking that attractive thinkers and visual encouragers will encounter in the midst of this change. So this message about if loving me is wrong, I don't want to be right. The changes that take place in your relationships could be some of the things that could shift could be dependency. Either you're depending on them or they're depending on you. And when you change, now you're no longer depending on them or they're no longer depending on you. When you're in any type of relationship, be it an intimate relationship or a business relationship, family relationship, whatever it might be, anytime you change, it's going to affect the people you're in a relationship with because you're changing your role in this relationship. Now, if the role was dependency and they were depending on you, and now you're into self love, you're in a season of self love, and you're changing some things about yourself, and you're learning to say no. See, that's another thing that changes when we begin to put ourselves first and love ourselves to shed. Our yeses now become nos, and our nos become yeses.
Yes.
And that can really trigger relationships. It can trigger people that are in relationships. Like, I used to be able to call you and you would pick me up, or I used to be able to call you and you would give me $5, or I used to be able to call you and you would say yes, or I used to be able to call and you would watch the kids, or I used to be able to call you and you would come over and we could go out. Now I call you and you got all of these reasons why you can't do it, or you just keep saying these things like, I'm not available, or I'm not, maybe another, this is not a good time, or um, I can't do it, or, you're giving me all of these reasons, whereas before, every time I called you, it was yes. So now your yeses are nos, and your nos are going to be yeses. When I say nos are going to be yeses, meaning you were presented with opportunities and you always turned them down and said no. Now you're saying yes, and with every yes comes new responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
That can make you retreat from putting yourself first and giving your heart what it truly desires. So we just want to prepare you for what's ahead when you decide to love yourself. Now you might say, well, wow, Dr. Toni, if all of that happens, isn't entails this change that I'm making in my life and loving myself. I don't know if I want to make this change, because I'm not trying to make all of those kinds of waves, or I'm not trying to embrace all of that kind of responsibility. The greatest love that you can give yourself is self-love, not the love of another. It's self-love. How many times have you experienced, people in your circle, or maybe even yourself, looking for love outside of you, the kind of love that you haven't sat down and given to yourself or taken the time to give to yourself? What kind of love are we talking about? We're talking about the kind of love that allows your heart to speak instead of
Mm-hmm.
putting a muzzle on your mouth. The kind of love that empowers you to say yes when you used to say no. The kind of love that empowers you to say no when you used to say yes. The kind of love that honors and values and treasures you as a vital key player in this game called life. The kind of love that doesn't put you on a back burner, or doesn't ignore you, or doesn't look at you or view you as an option. We're talking about the kind of love whereas you're necessary, whereas you're in the forefront of your life. You're a priority. You're someone that we need to in the game. That kind of love. And you have to give that kind of love to yourself first. And you might say, well, Dr. Toni, it's kind of difficult for me to give myself self-love because I've always been giving myself away. I've always been making sure everybody else is okay. I've always been, in tune with what everybody else needs and trying to anticipate their next steps or whatever, or what their next need is. Now, a great place to start would be to think about how you feel, and throughout the day just focus on keeping your feeling of peace, your feeling of fulfillment, your feeling of joy and laughter and fun and excitement, keeping your energy there. Now if you're focusing on keeping your energy there, then everything that you encounter and everything that comes at you, you have to make a decision that's going to keep your energy there. So if somebody comes at you and asks you to do something, check in with your energy. Do you really want to do that? Is it really in your heart to do that? Are you feeling that? Or do you feel inside your energy balling up, your energy getting tight and constricted, your energy dropping, you feeling sad, or you sigh, or you take, that deep breath because you really don't want to do it. So that's an opportunity for you to check in with your energy and make a decision that, and you will feel it. You will feel it. Let's say somebody presents a question to you, or something they want you to do, and you pause and you check in with your energy before you answer, and your energy is saying don't do it. Your energy is saying we do not want to do this. This is not going to keep us happy, at peace. We were relaxing before we got the phone call, we were enjoying ourselves, and all of a sudden we get the phone call. So you pause, and then you respond in a way that keeps your energy, and that response might be, you know what, on another day I probably would have been able to do it, but I'm not able to do it. You don't have to give people your reasons. Here's some good responses. I'm sorry, I'm not able to do that at this time. Oh, I apologize, I'm not available. That's not a good time for me. You don't have to tell them why. A lot of times I've had to turn down a request for my presence because I was spending time with me. But you don't tell people that, because they'll never get it if they don't know what self love is, if they're not functioning in self love for themselves. So you have to think. See, here's another piece to this self love. Come up, sit down and get a piece of paper and come up with responses that are healthy, that keep your boundaries, healthy responses for your boundaries. When people ask you to do something that you do not want to do, you have a right to not want to do that. You don't owe them an explanation for you not wanting to do it. And you don't feel bad because your first thing you probably thinking was, what, I had the time, I could have did it. So what? You didn't want to do it. You can have all the time in the world to do it. If you don't want to do it, you got to honor yourself. That's a form of self-love. We're checking in with our energy here. We're not checking in with what we're capable of doing. We're capable of doing all kinds of things, but do we want to do them? Are they increasing our energy, or are they depleting our energy? That's what self-love is. Honoring how you feel, setting up boundaries for how you feel, making no excuses for it, and being okay with it. And then you go right back to your self-love. After you hang up the phone, you go right back to loving you. And once you do that, you're going to say, wow, this really works. And this feels great. I didn't have to jump up and stop what I was doing and get dressed and inconvenience myself and burn up my gas and go do this and that, just to do something that I really didn't even want to do. Now I can hang up the phone and I can go back to what I was doing and feel okay with it. Now, the person on the other end of the phone, they may feel some kind of way about it, but that's not your responsibility. That's not your concern. Your concern is putting you first, because this is not an easy thing to do. But when you make it a priority, the benefits are endless. The reward is grand. And you'll notice other areas of your life being affected when you begin to make decisions in some of these other areas of your life. You'll begin to see your parts and pieces come together. The anxiety is gone, the stress is gone. You can lose weight without even working out and eating right when you put yourself first and start loving yourself. You eliminate that stress, because when you're under stress, your cortisol is high. And cortisol is a storage hormone. See, attractive thinker and visual encourager, I want you to understand something. You are a multidimensional being. What affects one area of your life affects all the areas of your life. That's why scripture says, guard your heart, for out of it flows the issues of your life. Every issue of your life flows from your heart. So when we talk about self-love, start focusing on your heart and how you feel. What makes you happy? What makes you sad? See, you got to get to know yourself in order to love yourself. See, Tasha, we do this stuff outside of ourselves, say, oh, we want to love this person, or we're in love with that person, and we're getting to know them, and we're watching their every move and see what they like. But do you do that to yourself? Do you watch your every move? Do you
Mm-hmm.
do that to yourself? Do you know what you like? Do you like green beans or do you like broccoli? Do you know what color shoes you like? Do you like stockings or do you like socks? Do you like wigs or do you like pieces? Do you like hats? I mean, do you do that with yourself? Do you put on a shirt and then assess how you feel? Or you just throw it on and go outside just because it's a piece of clothes and it's covering up stuff? You know,
Mm-hmm.
how does that shirt make you feel? That's self-love. A child will tell you that. You dress a child, and if it's a pair of pants or a shirt that they don't like, they will tell you, I don't like this shirt.
Mm-hmm.
They will tell you, I don't want to wear these shoes. I want to wear this coat and not that coat. They will tell you. So those are the details that we have to pay attention to and give to ourselves when it comes down to self-love. And you know why this is so important, to shed loving ourselves first, is because it makes what we want out of our lives, it makes our desires more accessible easily. We don't have to work for them. We begin to attract them because we are them.
Mm-hmm.
When you practice self-love, you don't have to chase for love. You don't have to run for love and look for love. It will come to you
Mm-hmm.
because you're attracting it, because you're loving yourself. You're putting yourself first. And when you put yourself first, you're eliminating stress. It is stressful to not put me first, to shed. It
Yes.
is stressful for me to put everybody else first except me, because then you're sitting there and you're saying, well, I wanted to do that, or I wanted to go, or I wanted to buy an outfit too, or I wanted some ice cream, or I wanted to relax, or I wanted to be invited. But we didn't have the courage to make decisions to position ourselves to enjoy these things because we didn't know how to love ourselves. You
Mm-hmm.
know, another way on, I believe it's page 468 in the book, it's called Until You Love Yourself. Read
Mm-mm.
that chapter on in the Attractive Thinker Experience on page 468. It's called Until You Love Yourself. You have to read that and get a clear understanding as to how to really do this. And loving yourself has nothing to do with anyone else. If people have a problem with you loving yourself, would you make them a priority in your life? You want people in your life that support you loving yourself.
Yep.
Because, see, a lot of times people have an agenda for ourselves, for us. You loving you may be inconvenient for them.
Yep.
You got to think about that. Now you're no longer available or at every beck and call.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that, attractive thinker. So, some of the other things I wrote down while you were talking, to Shet, is loving you is giving yourself, treating yourself, handling yourself in a way that you're does that you desire, in the way that you desire others to. Loving yourself, treating yourself, handling yourself, how you view yourself. How do you want people to view you? Well, then you have to start viewing yourself that way so that they can see you that way.
Absolutely.
That's how this works. It starts with you. So I hope that that understanding that self-love starts with you helps you understand that this is how you access what you desire in life as well. You have to be it in order to access it. So when you begin to love yourself, you're no longer exhausting yourself and doing the hard work of chasing and reaching and grabbing. You're now attracting what you desire because you decided to put yourself first. You became what you desired. You see how this works? And it's less stressful. There's ease and flow involved. You don't have to exhaust yourself. It's not tiring, but it does take strength and courage because it comes with a responsibility to continue to guard your heart, to continue to check in with how you feel, to make how you feel matter. It's in the book. It's another section in the book. How you feel matters. You have to have your copy. And if you have it, read those chapters today, attractive thinker, and start loving yourself because you deserve it. you're worthy of it, and you're good enough to put you first. Tichet, what are your comments on if loving me is wrong, I don't want to be right?
Loving yourself is something we have to consistently practice. Like you said, it's not going to be easy at first. There is going to be opposition when you come upon it, but you know, anything worth having is worth working for, right? We always hear that. So working for us, working to get to a point of self-love, is worth having the self-love, right? It's worth the work, in other words. And so once we get to a point with self-love, then we hit a flow of ease where now the love that we have been looking for all of our lives is coming out of us easily, right? And notice that we're not saying just love yourself. We're saying love yourself first. We're not saying don't go out there and not love people. We're saying love yourself first so that when you do decide to love people, you're loving in the right environment, you're loving in the right energy, you're loving the right people, you're sowing in good ground. You're not just out here spilling your love and waste it. We always talk about currency, where
Mm-hmm.
currency is energy, time, and your money, right? Love is also a currency as well, right? Self-love is also a currency, because our heart is our greatest treasure.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I always say when it comes to money is, you either save it, spend it, sow it, but never waste it. You can go out there, you can spend it, have a good time, you got something to show for it. You can save it, at the end of the time, you have something to show for it. You can sow it, and at the end of the time, you have something to show for it when you're reaping. But when you waste it, it's just being given away with nothing to show for it,
Mm-hmm.
right? When it comes to money, we say sow it, save it, spend it, but never waste it. So think about when it comes to energy, when it comes to time, and when it comes to your heart. Save it, spend it, sow it, but never waste it. Why? Because at the end of saving it, spending it, or sowing it, you still have something to show for it. But when you waste it, that's it. It's gone, right? When you waste your time, it's gone. When you waste your energy, it's gone. You're depleted, right? And we don't want to live a life that we're depleted and depreciated every time you turn around. And so we have to have a practice of self-love. It takes consistency. This is something that we have to do every day. We always talk about mental breakfast, mental lunch, mental dinner, and how all those things is necessary. We can stuff our faces all day, but what are you feeding your spirit?
Yes.
What are you doing with your time? Are you spending your time wasting it away, waiting for somebody else to come give you what you think you want, but it's not exactly what you want. What you want comes out of you. You want peace, that's not coming from somebody else, that's coming out of you. You want love, that's not coming from somebody else, that's coming out of you, right? And so when you love yourself first and you understand what it takes to love you, then you know what to expect from other people. So when someone comes in and they can't meet the expectation, you're not wasting your time, you're
Mm-hmm.
not wasting away. And then when you understand what it takes to love you, you're not going to subject yourself to areas or environments that depletes the love for yourself. You're not going to subject yourself to eating things that's going to deplete your health. When you love yourself head to toe, in and out, through and through, right? You love your spirit, you love your soul. You
Yeah.
don't just love your physical body. Of course, you want to say, oh, I'm cute, I'm pretty, and this, that, and the other. You want to have affirmations, but you want to make sure your spirit feels your love.
Mm.
You want to make sure your spirit is the first thing that get ignited. I say my day does not start without me logging in first. Now, how do I log in? You know how when you go on a computer and you have to log in, you go in, you put in your identification, you put in you do your username and your password. Well, I have that in the spirit, right? I have an identification that I have to log into. I have to make sure that before I go out there and do anything for anybody else, before my day started, I have to make sure I'm logged into me. If I can't log in to myself, meaning I'm logged out turned off, um, in the like might be in a negative energy or low vibrational or whatever you want to call it, if I am turned off, I am not subjecting myself to doing anything or making any decisions in that energy. Why? Because I don't want to reap from that energy. So I'm not gonna spend it, save it, and sow in that negative energy, because I don't want to reap none of that. You know what I mean? I don't want to come home and have a lot to show for negative energy. So what I do, if I can't log in, I don't go out there and give myself away. No way, because I'm not interested in wasting, right? And so one of the things with me logging in is understanding what my password is. What are the words that turn you on? What are your affirmations? What are the stuff that you set up? What are your security questions if you forget your affirmations, if you forget your password, if you forget what ignites you? There's a password that ignites us, right? We have a password that ignites us. For some people, I used to have a power wall. I used to have a trigger wall. It's a trigger wall that was beside on the other wall other than my power wall. So I had a power wall over here, but over here I had a trigger wall. And the reason why I called it a trigger wall, it wasn't a negative trigger wall, it was a positive trigger wall, which had words on there that if I was in a state where I felt sad or depressed, or I felt like I was going back on myself, that one word would trigger me or ignite me, right? That one word will cause me to snap right back into myself, right? So those were my passwords to logging into my identity, right? And so when I'm doing stuff like what you do on the computer, you're not going to do stuff under other people's identity. You want to do it under your own identity. You want to make sure that you're doing anything out of the best that you can be, so that you can reap the best from you, right? And you know, sometimes it's when you're starting to love yourself, like we said, it's not easy, right? Because that's causing you to go against however many years you have been here, right? It's caused for, I'm over 40. If it caused me over 40 years of saying yes to everything, saying yes to people and people pleasing and caring about other people's opinion. And now I'm going against that I built for 40 years. So now, in order for me to get that type of self-love energy thriving and going, I have to be consistent with the habit of building into myself the same way I was building into other people, right? So I have to have a certain pattern in our life. We have to follow after a certain pattern in our life in order to obtain the consistency of self-love, to the point where self-love becomes automatic, or you end up having it and you're not thinking so hard on the self-love. You end up becoming the self-love, right? And so when we have those habits, you have to make a habit of saying no, which take consistency. You have to have a habit of eating better, which take consistency. None of that is easy in the beginning, but if you continue that habit over and over again, it will eventually become a way of life. It becomes the things you do. So for instance, I decided 2 years ago to become vegetarian, right? And in the beginning, I couldn't imagine my life without meat. I couldn't imagine life without burgers and cheesesteaks and things like that. And I thought I had to go without. Come to find out, I don't. There's a vegetarian way of doing things, of having the things I love. There's a way of having the things you love without sacrificing your quality, right? And so I had to consistently look for meals that ignited me, look for things that I can eat, great replacements, not just going without, but great replacement, and making the decision to not go back. And I've been in this for 2 years. And it's funny because as hard as it was to start it, I can't imagine going back now. It's the thing, it's my thing now, right? And so any kind of way you want to live, yes, it may be hard to start, but after a while becomes your thing. The same thing with working out. You start working out at first and it's hard to keep that schedule, but once you do it for a certain amount of time, it becomes that thing. I remember not being able to not work out. I remember going in the gym at 11:30 at night because going to bed without working out was not an option. It became a way of life. So when something becomes a way of life, you start operating out of that thing as if that thing is you. And that's what we want to become a way of life. Peace, love, joy, abundance, the things you desire, the life you want, the life you dreamed of, your vision. We want those things to become a way of life. And we're saying to you to sacrifice the old way of being in order to accept the new way of being. We're saying to you, the way to get to your dreams, your vision is the goal is going to start at the beginning of your self-love journey. And so out of that, you'll start changing your life a little bit at a time, and you'll start seeing new things. And some stuff you're going to see is not going to always be, glitter and gold. You're going to see some stuff, like for instance, you may have to walk away from some people, and that's going to be hurtful because you've known these people half your life, and you like, I can't even believe that they would think of me this way, but everything is going to be revealed in time. When you start loving yourself, people is going to be, how you cut the grass and it reveals the snakes underneath. It's kind of like that. When you start loving yourself, think about it as cutting your grass. The snakes underneath is going to start to be revealed because now you have a clean surface to work with, right? And then you have to be okay with you have, all right, I'm gonna say this. You have to learn to be okay with losing people because there's some folk that should not have the deed to your happiness. They don't even deserve it. They don't even love you like that. They
Mm.
don't like you like that. Why should they carry the deed to your happiness, something so precious to that? Why does your happiness or your ability to love yourself have to rely on somebody who could care less? They care about their agenda. They care about what they want to do. They don't care about rather this inconvenience you. All they know is they want to get what they want to get done.
Yes.
So you have to then care about what inconveniences you. You then have to stand up for your right to live and stand up for your right to have peace. You have to stand up first. And so when you stand up for it, people ain't gonna come and take it away. They didn't give it to you, they didn't take it, they can't take it away. And self-love allows us to take full ownership of our happiness.
Mm.
So when we out there in the world, people can't just come dig in your purse and take your stuff. They literally have to go through great lengths to rob you of your peace. Because your peace is not just sitting out there open for any and everybody to take part. You have to be responsible with your peace. You have to be responsible with your energy, with your time, with your money, and with your heart. You got to be responsible, right? And you have to take the overall responsibility to your deed of happiness so that you can make sure that no matter what goes on in life, you decide whether or not your happiness goes out or comes in, and how it goes out and how it comes in.
Mm-hmm.
You determine how your happiness flows. Just because, if something worked for me, it might not work for you. The way that it helped me, it might not help you, but loving yourself will show you that. Loving yourself will show you that there are some things that you must do, there are some things that you can do, but there are some things you must not do. And so loving yourself is the beginning phases of the best of your life. Back to you, Dr. Toni.
So fantastic and amazing. Attractive thinkers, I trust that you have captured these gems and have made a decision to start your self-love journey. Because I was taking some notes while you were talking to Shep, when you set healthy boundaries, because a lot of time I think one of the biggest issues that we have when setting these boundaries or making changes in our lives is the changes that have to take place in relationships. I think that's a really big one that prevents people from really making these necessary changes in their lives because they don't want to lose friends. They don't want
Mm-hmm.
to lose certain relationships, or they don't want people mad at them. They care a lot about how people feel or think about them. All of these are real issues. When you set healthy boundaries, you end up attracting people who respect those boundaries, which makes it easy for you to be you.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, now in the process of you making the decision to set these boundaries, while you're waiting to attract the people, the right people in your life who support and embrace this new you, this new self-love you version of you, you have, this is where courage is necessary. This is where faith and strong belief and strength is necessary, because you have to be consistent in your on your self-love journey until consistent until you see the shifts happen in your life and you begin to attract people in your life that respect the new boundaries that you've set for yourself. Because you're not only going to attract people, but you're going to attract places, experiences, things, opportunities, endorsements, sponsorships for your business, all kinds of beautiful things when you step into self love. So we trust that you have captured these gems. We trust that you have made the decision to put you first. Tichet said it, you are your greatest treasure. Your heart is your greatest treasure. You are your greatest asset. There's no one on this planet greater than you to you. You can't put other people first in your life without putting you first. So, when doing that, because that may not be common in your circle, when doing that, you need attractive thinker tools and supports to help you do that. So get your copy on Amazon today and visit our website, theattractivethinker.guru. We have some free resources there to help you stay mentally strong, mentally healed, mentally supported. And for mindset maintenance, once you begin to apply these tools, you have to maintain them. Tisha, tell our audience how they can get in touch with you, the visual encourager.
Absolutely. You can find me on my website at www.visualencouragement.com. We provide mental support for movers and shakers, for trailblazers, pathfinders, and groundbreakers. All you visionaries who desire to move mountains but need help lifting the heaviness so that you can create a new vision for yourself. Go to my contact us page, put in your information. Let me know how I can uplift you, enlighten you, and encourage you so that you can live a life of fulfillment beyond the break. Again, that's www.visualencouragement.com. See you soon.
Awesome. Attractive thinkers and visual encouragers around the world. You always hear us say our life's work, that's to make your life better. Remember, it is not what you're going through, it's how you're doing it. Think attractive. We'll see you soon.